We're starting another video here. We're doing this because I realized I was listening and also looking at the counter on the left side of my photo booth here, which is what I use to make these videos. And we were getting pretty big here, so I'm going to let us keep going for a little bit longer, and we'll see how we go, and then we'll post these two videos up while I have a apple here as I'm snacking around. And we're looking at time. It is 12:25. So we're going to go for about another 20 minutes or so. So I think I'll keep the video going for the next 20 minutes or so. So, now that we've taken a quick break, let's get back to the reading. I send things back over to my right with Womack.
Where to say when. The time element can be confusing in the lead. Breaking news: when something happened yesterday, the time element usually does not come in the first sentence. But you need to place it where it is accurate, even if it sounds awkward. Here's an example of a confusing time element. University officials agreed to raise tuition by $100 Monday. As written, the lead indicates the tuition will increase on Monday. Wrong, tuition won't go up until next fall. Here's what really happened. University officials agreed Monday to raise tuition by $100. Delayed identification. when the who in your lead is not a well-known person in your community or in the nation, you can identify the person by age, location, occupation, or another modifier in the first paragraph. Then identify the person by the name in the second paragraph. When you use delayed identification, even if your story involves several people, the first name you use should be the one you refer to in your lead. All state laws all states have laws restricting the release of juvenile offenders' names, and several states prohibit the release of names of rape victims. In addition, many newspapers and television news organizations have policies to withhold names of criminal suspects until they are formally charged with crimes. Therefore, you need to use alternative forms of identification in these situations as well. The following examples show how to say who in the lead and delay identification.
This may sound pretty complicated, but let's see if we can figure it out. Well,
Age: an 18-year-old Tampa man was shot and killed Wednesday after he and two friends confronted a gunman who had beaten a friend of theirs, Tampa police said. Warren Smith III of 3524 East 26th Street, or 6th Ave, was shot behind his right ear at 6:40 p.m. and was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at Tampa General Hospital, police said. Occupation: two Minneapolis meter monitors have been charged with stealing an estimated $35,000 worth of nickels, dimes, and quarters from parking meters.
Oh my gosh.
Dale Timonskis, 42, and Leroy Sinner, 40, both of Minneapolis, were arrested Tuesday after police watched their activities. Location: an Anchorage woman who embezzled more than $450,000 pleaded guilty Friday in U.S. District Court of Spokane, Washington, to charges of identity theft and filing a false tax return. Jana J. Jossie, 44, who now lives in Wenatchee, Washington, used various schemes to embezzle money while working as an accountant payable clerk for Quality Asphalt Paving, an Alaska construction company. Other identifier: a former Duke University student who posed as a wealthy French baron, was a con artist with lavish desires, said a judge who sentenced the imposter to 3 years in prison for fraud. Maurice Jeffrey Locke Rothschild, 38, who changed his name from Mauro Cortex Jr., was sentenced in Greensboro, North Carolina for bilking two banks by posing as a nobleman from France's wealthy Rothschild family. The charges involve $12,000 Rothschild received after submitting false information on credit card applications. If you are writing a story about a person who has been in the news frequently, such as a suspect in the trial, You may use the name but add a phrase or clause to identify the person, as in this example about woman on trial for murder of her former fiance. Prosecutors in the trial of former stripper Michelle Linehan want the jury to watch a movie called The Last Seduction about a woman who tried to manipulate her lover into killing her husband for $1 million. Updated leads. The summary lead usually stresses basic facts about the news in the immediate past, and it is usually written in the past tense. This type of breaking news lead is often referred to as a first day lead, as if readers were hearing the news for the first time. Because television and online news sites require immediacy, leads are often updated by advancing the story to the next step, a process called forward spin or advancing the lead. Newspapers used to refer to updated leads as second day leads, but because the news breaks online or on social media sites, the second day lead is needed more as a first day approach in most print, broadcast, or online news. The first example is a standard summary lead that appeared in the morning paper. It stresses what happened yesterday in the search for a missing University of Arizona professor. Rescue workers combed a rugged area in Tucson Mountains yesterday evening in search of a UA music professor who had been missing since Tuesday night. A second example appeared in a competing afternoon newspaper. It gives the story a forward spin, stressing what will happen today, even though there is no new information. This would work better for broadcast. Deputies plan to resume a search this morning in a rocky terrain in the Gates Pass area for missing University of Arizona music professor Roy Andres Johnson, 58, who they fear was killed. A few days later, the professor's body was found and he had been murdered. Here's an example of how you might update the lead, especially for broadcasts. Original version. Princeton University officials have placed a cap on the number of A's that professors can award in an effort to crack down on grade inflation. Updated version. Students at Princeton University won't be receiving as many A's this year. School officials are cracking down on grade inflation by placing a cap on the number of A's professors can award. Impact leads. The impact lead explains how the readers and viewers will be affected by an issue. This type of lead is also good for broadcast stories. It is an excellent tool to make a story seem fresh and relevant. The impact lead is especially helpful on bureaucratic stories. It answers the question, so what? What does this news mean to a reader? Impact leads can be written in hard news summary form or in soft lead. The information you give must be factual, not your interpretation. If you use a soft lead, you must write a clear nut graph early in the story. The previous updated lead is also an example of impact leads because it starts with how students at Princeton University will be affected by new grade restrictions. This impact lead uses a direct summary approach. Summary lead with impact. San Francisco has become the first city in the nation to require cell phone companies to disclose how much radiation their phones emit. Here's an impact lead that directly addresses readers and viewers. This lead that would work equally well in print, broadcast, or on the web. Are you avoiding the bathroom scale? Is it a struggle to pull on last year's clothes? If the answer is yes, you probably need to take off some extra pounds. But what you might not know is that a little extra sleep could be the answer. Studies show that people who sleep too little are actually more likely to raid the refrigerator. Attribution leads. Attribution tells the reader where you got your information. Too much attribution can clutter a lead. Too little attribution can get you in trouble. For print and online stories, you may put the attribution at the beginning or the end of a sentence. For broadcast, attribution must come first. Here are some guidelines about whether you need to use attribution. If you know the information is factual and you witnessed it or have first-hand knowledge that it is true, you may eliminate the attribution. If you received the information by telephone, as in police or fire stories, attribute it to your source. Whenever you are saying anything accusatory, as in police or political stories, you must attribute the information. You also must attribute the quote or practical quotes you use in a lead. To keep attribution clutter to a minimum, you may give general reference to some sources, such as police said or experts say. If the titles are long, then as in delayed identification, give the specific name and title in the second reference. In broadcast news, if the source is shown on videotape, the name and title may be superimposed under the video, so you may not need to attribute it by name and title. If you do use attribution, put the source's title before the name. Right. Police Chief John Law says the suspect is in custody. Wrong. John Law, police chief, says the suspect is in custody. Fact versus opinion. Here are some examples that demonstrate when to use attribution. Fact. No attribution is needed. An 88-year-old man died Monday afternoon when fire spread through a second-floor apartment in the Wellington Arms apartment in North St. Louis County. Opinion speculation about the cause needs to be attributed. An 88-year-old man died in North St. Louis County Monday afternoon, apparently after he started a fire while smoking in bed, authorities said. Attributed fact. Attribution for fact is needed because the reporter got the information secondhand by telephone. The body of a man who has been fatally stabbed was discovered Monday morning in a city trash bin in the Lewis Place neighborhood, police said. Accusations. A police is innocent until proved guilty in court. In crime stories, attribute any accusatory statements to police or other authorities, especially when you are using a suspect's name. If the person has been charged with the crime, you may state that fact without attribution. The word allegedly can be used when the charges have not been proved, but direct attribution to the police is preferable. Here are some examples. No attribution is needed. A University of North Florida chemistry major has been charged with building a 35-pound mega bomb powerful enough to destroy everything within a radius of 150 yards. Attribution is needed in an accusatory statement. David Roger Flint killed 16-month-old Brittany K. Boyer on Monday by dangling her by the arms, swinging her side to side and beating her head against the floor and wooden furniture, police say. 23-year-old Flint was arrested about 10:30 p.m. Tuesday and accused of murder. The word allegedly is used because it has not yet been proved that the kidnap and rape occurred. Example, a 38-year-old paroled murderer has been arrested in St. Croix County, Wisconsin, for allegedly kidnapping and raping two 16-year-old girls in Minneapolis last month. Later, the lead is backed up this way. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and 2 counts of kidnapping. This lead would be a safer alternative. A 38-year-old paroled murderer has been charged with kidnapping and raping 2 16-year-old girls in Minneapolis last month. Quotes. Whenever you quote someone directly, indirectly, or partially, you need to attribute the statement. Full quotes are difficult in leads and can be awkward. Reading a story that starts with a full quote is like coming into the middle of a conversation. It is hard to tell what the context and meaning of the quote. Full quotes are ineffective for broadcast writing. A more effective technique is the use of partial quotes, especially when the speaker says something controversial or dramatic. Leads may also contain reference quotes, a few words referring to something controversial. Both partial and reference quotes should be backed up later in the story with full quote or with the context in which the statement was made. A full quote is used in this lead because it is dramatic, but it is still confusing. I've done everything out there, 31-year-old Gilbert Franco told his wife Thursday. All that's left to do is learn the Bible and to die. The next day, San Jose police say Franco entered the CNS Market at East Julian and 26th Street and shot to death Catherine Young-Suk Cho, 40, whose family owns the store. Seconds later, 50 yards away, Franco fatally shot himself in the head. In this example, a partial quote is used and backed up with the full quote, a technique used more often in stories about speeches, politics, and court stories. A reference quote is used in the lead. The University of Pennsylvania announced yesterday that it was penalizing a senior scientist for lapse of judgment in an experiment last April in which more than 120 people may have been exposed to a virus that can cause fatal form of leukemia. The backup puts the partial quote in context. The committee concluded that the professor was not guilty of research misconduct as defined in a school policy. However, the committee concluded that there were lapses of judgment and failures of communication in the experiment. Attributions first or last. The rule of thumb in the lead is to put the most important information first. If the attribution is cumbersome and will slow the lead, put it at the end. If it is brief, you can put it first. In broadcast writing, however, you need to put the attribution first. If the attribution is cumbersome, refer to the source broadly, as in a new study or a state official, and state the full attribution in the next paragraph. Example, attribution last. Casual drug use has dropped sharply during the last 5 years, but the number of addicts using cocaine daily has not changed significantly, the federal government reported yesterday. Attribution first, acceptable and preferable for broadcast writing. Federal government reports that casual drug use has dropped sharply during the last 5 years, but the number of addicts using cocaine daily has not changed significantly. Attribution last, because name is cumbersome and not as important as conclusions. America's newspaper journalists want a faster transition of print to digital delivery of the news, according to Life Beyond Print, a study of nearly 3,800 journalists by researchers at the Media Management Center of Northwestern University.
Well, he turns the page. I'll just mention, if you guys see me in the video, and my face kind of disappears, I'm leaning over and looking at my screen, because I'm actually considered legally blind, so certain things are actually harder for me to see unless I'm looking almost right at them. So I'm currently looking at the counter on the left side of my photo booth telling me how long this video is. And that's why my head momentarily disappears at certain points during the video. We're gonna be stopping here in about 3 to 5 minutes, no matter where we are.
Do you want to stop here because we're at the end of the section?
You know what, we're gonna stop here. I'm gonna take a break and upload the rest of these 2 videos, and maybe we'll do more a little bit later on. Hopefully that, and we'll see you later.